Well, good evening, Jaime. We're back. We're live. So, you know what?
What's up, Facebook Live?
We're Facebook living right now, and YouTube thriving. That's what we're doing. Facebook living, YouTube thriving.
What?
That's what's up. So, hey, dude. You know what? I just want to give the breakdown of what foreclosure actually is, and this video is literally going to be for the consumer market. So let's go ahead and just share maybe 10 minutes. What is your understanding of foreclosure, Jaime?
My understanding of it is after 60 days, you're going to get a notice. Default NODs normally. The reason being is because when you're 30 days late, you're actually 60 days behind because you pay, was it behind? You're 30 days late on your payment regardless when you first start off. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does make sense. So one of the things that I want, people to basically understand is technically this is going back to like my mortgage servicing days. Your mortgage is due on the 1st of the month, right? Technically, you are late on day 2. Do you hear that? What? You're late day 2.
So you are 30 days, right?
No. Let's just go back. Day 1, you're, on the first day of the month, your mortgage is due. Day 2, you are technically late, but they do give you.
So the day that I close my deal and I got to put my payment down, I'm already late.
No. So when you close your deal, so let's go back real quick. When you close your deal,
right?
If you were a renter before and now you're a homeowner, so let's go ahead and just talk about when you're a renter. When you're a tenant, you're renting a property, you're literally putting up your rent, and that rent is going to be for the 30 days after you pay it. So you pay your rent on the 1st of April, and it should cover you till April 30th. Now, a mortgage is the other way, which is what you're explaining. A mortgage is they're not going to charge you for the interest or the payment of April until May 1st. So a mortgage, you have to live in it for that month, and then you are due May 1st for you living in the property in April. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Okay. So if that is the case, you understand that now it is May 1st and you're due for your April payment. You have your payment due on May 1st. On May 2nd, it's technically considered late. You do have until the 15th of the month as a grace period to go ahead and mail your payment in. A lot of people think that they have until the 15th or their payment would now be considered late. No, your payment's due on the 1st, late on the 2nd. You have a grace period until the 15th. Now, on the 16th, they're going to go ahead and issue you a late charge. No big deal. No farm, no foul, no harm. They're just going to charge you a maybe 3 to 5% penalty because you didn't make the payment within the first 15 days. You're still technically safe. Do you have to notify your bank or you notify your mortgage company? Well, chances are on the 16th, they're going to start calling you. They're gonna call you and they're gonna say, hey, you know what, John, we're just calling about your payment that was due on May for the month of April. When can you make it? And these people are actually calling as customer service reps. In reality, they are a collection company, or it could be the servicing company that has a collection department. Now, if you end up going the 30 days and you don't make a payment. So your payment was due on May for April. You go through May 30th, and now you're due for June's payment. That technically constitutes a 30-day late mortgage. A 30-day late now is going to get reported on your credit report. So your credit is going to be dinged at that particular point. At this point, so you did loans, Jaime. If you have a 30-day mortgage late, are you able to refinance?
On 30 days, some banks may do it, but chances are it's going to get a lot harder, and they're going to ding you more points for it.
Okay, so more. He just said they're going to ding you for more points. That means that they're going to increase your closing cost because they know you're strapped for cash. You do have the equity. You're trying to pull that equity out to pay off some bills and get back on your feet. But by that time, the gig's up. They already know that you're late, right?
Oh, I see what you're doing. So you're trying to cash out. So you are being sneaky. Because if you were just trying to do a rate and term, which means lowering your rate, they're probably not going to ding you as much. But now that you're trying to pull cash out, you just hit a red flag.
So you got the red flag coming because you tried pulling cash. You got the red flag coming because you just went mortgage late 30 days. So they're not saying that they're not going to go ahead and lend you or that you can't refinance. The only thing is you're going to be penalized on the new interest rate and penalized on the fees that they're going to go ahead and charge it. Now, if this cycle continues for another 30 days, that's a 60-day. At 60 days, they're going to go ahead and charge you another late charge. They're going to go ahead and start calling you and asking for a payment or a payment arrangement. Now, a payment arrangement is not a forbearance agreement. It is just that the bank wants to know when they're going to get their payment. If it goes 60 days past due, at that particular point, you become an NOD, a notice of default. Under a notice of default, it is public information and they will go ahead and publish it, stating that they have the right to start foreclosure proceedings. Do you remember 2008, Hyman?
Oh yeah, I remember a lot of doors with the notice of defaults on them. So
now the notice of defaults, what they end up doing is they end up sending them over certified mail. So it's public information, number one. You're going to see your property all over Zillow, and it's going to state pre-foreclosure. A lot of home buyers are going to think that you are selling your property for whatever you owe. Your home could be worth $400,000, and it's going to say pre-foreclosure 200 because that's how much you owe, and it's going to generate a lot of phone calls and foot traffic. But in reality, you're not even considering selling your home at this time. But the gig's up. Once again, the story is out. You are past due on your mortgage. How many buyers do you deal with, Jaime, that call you and say, hey, I want to go see this pre-foreclosure that came up on Zillow?
people do it all the time. They're thinking they're going to get a deal. That's why they do it. They're thinking there's obviously some type of, obviously there's an issue. So that's why they're going to go ahead and try to look at that. Because they want to see if they can get something like 50% off, even 30% off. So yeah, you are already categorized in that section. So you've already put yourself in that position. So now it's a matter of what do you want to do?
Well, and you said it's a matter of what you want to do, but in reality, it's a matter of what's going to happen. So at this particular point, you've gone 60 days past due. The bank has already issued a notice of a default, and your property now is going to start going into a foreclosure status. In a foreclosure status, they're going to go ahead and revert you over to a different department. Okay. Now, remember, we're not attorneys. We are licensed real estate agents. And if you do happen to fall into any of these items, you are more than welcome to contact a licensed agent or speak to an attorney regarding your options. So these are experiences that I personally had to deal with because I was the gentleman that was working on the forbearance agreements or putting people into the foreclosure status in the early 2000s. So at 60 days, your notice of default, at that particular time, this is what I want you guys to be aware of. Let's say that you get your job back. Let's say that they, remove this, COVID-19, and that's, we don't want to use the other word for censorship. Okay, Hyman? But if in case they end up now going and being able to go back to work, it's been 60 days. A bank after 60 days does not have to take a partial payment. So they'll give you an option. If you write a check and it comes back non-sufficient funds, they're going to ask for certified funds. That's it. They're not going to take a check. It's going to be money order, Western Union, and they're going to want the tracking information. And depending on what mortgage servicer, what bank you're dealing with, they're also going to ask for the total amount due. So if in case you guys make a partial payment, so for number's sake, you owe $1,000 a month, you've gone 2 months, so now you owe $2,000, you get your job back and you say, well, in 3 weeks, when I get paid again, I want to bring you current. Well, they are not gonna take a partial payment. They're gonna want the $3,000 that are due at that particular time. Did you know that?
No, didn't know that actually. But let me ask you this: If are all banks willing to work with you? Are they all equal? Do they all act equally when it comes to something like this?
Absolutely not. And um, everyone thinks that my mortgage is with Chase, my mortgage is with Bank of America. Your mortgage servicer happens to be Chase or Bank of America, but you need to find out who your note holder is. Who is holding that note? Is it Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae? Is it a private investor? Is it Bank of America? Is it, is it your mortgage company? So you need to know, one, who the note holder is, because that note holder has those specific rules of what it is that they're able to do for you. So a lot of people don't know that.
So if my neighbor gets some type of deal, that won't necessarily apply to me.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, not at all. If it goes into that 90-day, you get your job back. Congratulations. And you are going to start making your payments. You call up the mortgage servicer, because that's who really you're talking to, and you say, hey, I got $1,000 of the $3,000 that I owe you. Can I send that in? They're going to say, no, that is called a partial payment. And that, if in case you send it, now a bank cannot reject any money from you. Okay. So if you send $1,000, what's going to happen is they're going to hold that in suspense. Now, holding it in suspense just says that, you know what, they owed me 3,000, they sent me 1,000, but I'm not going to apply it on what's owed. So that means that the foreclosure clock is still ticking. In order to stop the foreclosure at the 90-day mark, you need to send the entire 3,000 bucks. If you send the 1,000, it's not going to stop it. So they're going to hold your funds in suspense. Chances are, depending on what mortgage servicer it is, they might send that $1,000 back and say, nope, we're not going to accept partial payments. We want the entire thing. And then this is going to cause the riffraff about what's about to happen in our current market, because history is going to repeat itself, unfortunately. So once you get your cash and they stop taking your payment, or you do have $1,000 of the 3,000 that is owed plus late charges, I'll tell you, after 4 months, so after 160 days, the mortgage servicer hires an attorney, foreclosure attorney. Now, if you guys read through your paperwork, when they hire this foreclosure attorney, they're actually hiring this attorney against you. And they're going to charge you for that attorney. Did you know that, Hyman?
Ouch. Attorney fees, those are not good.
So here we go. You're back to work now. You got 2 months back at the job, and you are 4 payments past due now. You got $2,000 saved. But because you hit that 160-day mark and an agent pushed the button and hired an attorney, now that attorney, no matter what, is going to have their pay is going to be due. And the bank, the mortgage company or servicer is going to go ahead and put that amount onto your bill. So you owe $4,000 for 4 months past due, and then they just hired an attorney against you, which is going to cost in California somewhere around $4,000. So in order for you to get your home out of foreclosure, now you owe $8,000.
Dang.
$8,000, and you are, and mind you, I'm only talking about $120,000 loan where the loan balance is, or where the loan payment's only $1,000 a month. So take what I just said, and if you owe $300,000, multiply everything I just said by 3.
Now, are there going to be any other fees involved in that, or is it just the mortgage and a lawyer, or there's other junk fees, servicing fees?
There could be filing fees. There could be attorney fees, late charges, or non-sufficient fund fees if a check was returned. So they're gonna pile them on, and you're gonna have to order a demand to reinstate your loan. So that is what's going to be, pretty crazy,
Right.
because I understand that right now they did put a hold on foreclosures and evictions. Now, all they did was literally kick the can. Once this gets to the 4 month mark and they, raise these bans from us, the bank could come full force. And the reason I'm saying they're going to come full force, because this is not 2008. What's different now is that your property has equity. So back in 2008, your home, you owed 350,000 and it was only worth 200. So the bank was literally trying to say, oh, we're going to give you a modification, covered California. I don't know, whatever it was called at that time, but I know that's not the name. But they would say, okay, well, look, we're going to give you a modification, but we're not going to give you a principal reduction. So we'll get into that video, later. But if you do get to the 4 month mark, you just want to make sure that they keep the account in-house. You want to make sure that you continue to communicate with your lender, with your servicer, and you say, hey, you know what? I get paid on this day. Call them and tell them your paydays. Call them and tell them and make a promise to pay, so that the account stays with them and they do not hire an attorney because of no communication. If you do not communicate, or if you say, one of the good techniques is, don't ever call me at this number, I'm on the do not call, or don't call me, I'm at work, which is fine, because the servicer has to oblige by not calling that phone number. But then you just literally did a cease and desist on the communication with the bank. So now all they're going to do is proceed. You asked them not to call you, they're not going to call you. And then they're just going to move ahead with whatever they need to do. So in the beginning, it's going to be pretty rough. There is no agreements that are, being made. There is no idea of what's to happen. And I'm saying this because back in 2006-7, when we went through this last cycle, it literally took about a year and a half before the banks figured out what to do, or what they were going to do, or how they were going to fix it. So go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but let me ask you this, because let's go back to the forbearance thing that's going on right now, right?
Okay.
You said it's just kicking the can down the road. I kind of feel like, because I don't know if consumers realize it, but those payments are being tacked on to the end, kind of like a neg-am back in the days. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So what you're saying is now these payments are on the back end of this. I mean,
well, the thing is, once again, it just depends on what the servicer is going to do. So technically, they're not going to throw it in the back. Some are, some aren't. But what they do is they're going to say, here's a forbearance agreement. You owe $4,000, right? We're going to give you 12 months to pay back the $4,000. So we didn't roll the payments to the back, but we're going to give you 12 months to bring the account current. So you're
a balloon payment.
A balloon payment, absolutely. So you're going to take the 4,000. They're going to divide it by, the 12 months, and your monthly mortgage payment is going to increase by, $300-400. So next month your payment is not 1,000. It's going to be now 1,300. Now they did stop the foreclosure because they gave you a forbearance agreement. So congratulations. Now you just got to make sure you come through with that $1,300 payment for the next, 12 months, and reinstate your loan and get out of foreclosure. Now, check this out. This is called the rolling 30. And a rolling 30 just means that on your credit report, on your mortgage history, your mortgage payment is still reflecting 30 days past due, 40, 120, 160. So even though you have all this equity, supposedly, you still can't touch it because now you're in a forbearance agreement. That just means that, it's reported stating that you got an issue. It still shows that you're past due. And if you are going to refinance, the only person that's possibly going to go ahead and do it is going to be a shark, somebody with, high rates, high fees, and they're just going to bring your loan current and give you an extra 20,000 bucks. Depending on your situation, you guys have to decide what's going to be best for you and your family.
So at this
So,
point, I'm thinking they really, if they're going to go into this or go down this pathway of not paying their payments and going through this forbearance process, they need to really communicate with their bank to figure out exactly what's going to happen at the end of this trail.
yes. Yes. So communication is key, guys. Communication is key. Make sure that you guys keep keep that communication open with your mortgage companies, with your servicers. So I mean, that's the advice that I could technically give you. And trust me, at this particular point, everything is a case by case. If they see that you have equity, who knows, maybe they might you know escalate the foreclosure process to make some money.
Wait a minute. So if I have equity, I'm possibly in more of a risk than somebody who doesn't have as much.
Possibly. Yeah.
I would never.
Because
I would think as a consumer, they'd be nice and let me have my money, or somehow try to figure this out so I can sell my house or
right.
get me out of
But you know what though, and that's the thing, that you're not talking to just one individual, Jaime. There's so many people. I just talked about a loan counselor, a customer service rep, a loss mitigation person, a foreclosure, person. I talked about, a couple manager positions. So the thing is, if it's just collapsing and there's like so much happening all at one time, do you really think that somebody's really just going to sit down and say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Martinez, let's see what we can do for you? Like, no, there's so many people that are involved that they have a job to do. So, can you guys stop the foreclosure? I don't know. And I know that, like I said, I was talking to one of my friends, Gabriel, Laura, and he was basically telling me, he goes, yeah, modifications, and they could have somebody submit a modification on their behalf. And like I was telling everyone, just make sure that the person that you are working with, that they don't charge you any upfront fees. The only person that could literally charge you any upfront fee happens to be an attorney, and they're charging you in order for you to be able to retain their services so that they can start working on your behalf. But keep in mind, if somebody says, hey, you know what, I do modifications for $3,500, if they come at you with something like that, if you had $3,500, I would rather you just call your mortgage company and try to get it squared away with them. Do you agree?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember back in the days, there was a lot of modification people that try to do that, these upfront fees, and agents. Okay. If you're an agent out there, I remember you guys that did that. You guys can't do that. And if you're a consumer, don't fall for it. Like Jesse said, you need to be talking to the bank. Don't be trying to do upfront fees. I know you're probably at a situation where you're like, I'm desperate. I'm looking for somebody to give me the right answers, because I remember being on the phones with people that were just so like down, needing some type of help. And they would go to the first person that would actually give them what they wanted to hear. And that wasn't the solution. The solution was that they really needed to talk to the bank. But again, you're going to be talking about 25 different types of people, and it's a headache.
You're right. And that goes also to say, I remember this is back in 2008, 2009. So I used to do REOs, and I was one of the agents that would knock on the people's door after it was all done and over with, after foreclosure. And I would say, I'm here for possession. I'm here on behalf of XYZ, and I'm here to take possession of the property. When I used to do that, I'm going to tell you, it was a very painful time in my life, and I used to see the ugly part, because even though it happened, um, you're a human, I'm a human, and dealing with people is in a people business, especially through a downturn like that. It's difficult, and what I mean is, I used to work for the banks, and I'm a people person, and I'm for the people. The banks used to basically say, hey, you know what, if they get out in 30 days, we're going to give them $20,000 back in those days. uh, but if they deny that, then at 60 to 90 days, we're going to only give them, 2,500 bucks. So they wanted the people out as fast as possible to avoid additional attorney fees and cost and eviction and the whole nine. So I get it. And I would always go to the door and I would say, once again, I'm working with XYZ. Um, the people that would answer the door, Jaime, hands down, it was always like the little kids. It was always the children of the
Parent.
of the parents. And I would have to say, hi, can you go get your mommy and or your daddy. I used to knock on the door and mommy would come to the door and say, what can I help you with? And I would say, well, I'm here on behalf of the bank, looking for possession. Are you Mrs. Martinez? Yes, I am. Oh no, my husband took care of that. No, he didn't. No, no, what do you mean? My home, it's still my home. I'm sorry, no, it's not. And and that's where, like I said, that's where the mindset, that's where humanity, and that's where families fall apart and everything, because people weren't talking to one another. And I'll tell you, on this subject, 10 years ago we had like the hardest time, 5 years ago. Why are millennials not buying properties? Why are
They don't
millennials not
trust.
buying properties? They don't trust the bank.
They don't trust.
And these millennials, I'll tell you, they were 18 years old. They were 18 years old when I knocked on their door and I asked them to move
Mhm.
because their home got foreclosed on. And they didn't know what was happening. They just know that, what, a mortgage was like the worst thing ever, because, mom and dad started arguing, and, they felt alone. So I don't doubt millennials to have, the mentality about, home ownership. Now, with everything, with time, everything does, happen to heal. And I know for a fact that these millennials now, they're in their mid 30s, they're almost 40, and they're just starting to buy their homes. um and and that's the thing that we talk about, the foreclosure process. It's not easy, and it's not something that was meant to happen. But if you do find yourself in that type of predicament, reach out to professionals, reach out to myself, reach out to Jaime. Find that source of knowledge that you're going to need in that time. And I'll tell you, when I used to have to give people money to move out, I would literally tell them, I'm glad it's me here at the door, because I'm going to try to get you as much money as possible. And I have clients till this day that still call me and say thank you, because when the market took a shift back in '08, I would give them $20,000. They would go and file bankruptcy with an attorney, I don't know. And within 12 months of, being bankrupt, they were able to qualify for a first time buyer program with some banks. And, at that time, they still had $10,000 from the cash for keys agreement. So they would contact me back and they would say, hey, you know what, Jesse, could we buy a home? And 9 out of 10 times, Jaime, I would take them out of a house that was 3 bedrooms, 1 bath for 300,000, and I would get them a 4 or 5 bedroom, you know, 2 bath, 3 bath home for 350,000 in a city that they once could not afford. But it was because of the fact that they took action. They took action. Either they, had equity and they sold, or they got cash for keys and they saved. but we were able to put them in a better situation than the one that they were in. But a lot of people, Jaime, a lot of people were still in denial. A lot of people were still, trying to save their home, you
Right.
know, and it was literally killing them to death. Um,
I think
and
I think a lot of it really comes down to just being embarrassed, man. I think it's like, here's the American dream. You've built something for your family, and now it's just completely out of your control. And I think that was a lot of what, when I would call people, I was dealing with that a lot, and it sucked. And that's where that denial comes in. And it's the embarrassment of just like, wait a minute, I can't provide for my family, I can't support myself anymore. And I think what you touched upon was, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There are ways to get through this. Yeah, you may not want to BK, but you know what, that's a tool that's part of your arsenal. I mean, so don't look at these as negatives, just think of them as options. I mean, your current president has done this 6 times, BK. So if
yeah,
he's done it that many times, you can do it too. So don't get
no,
hung up on
no, and I understand that there's like the moral compass of, well, I borrowed this money, I got to pay it back. I get that. I get that. But sometimes, like a person is just so deep in the hole that, we talked about kicking the can. Just the same way that the banks kick the can, homeowners kick the can too. Oh, you know what? Next year, we're gonna get through this. Or, I'm just a couple paychecks away from, getting everything back to normal. And it's a slippery slope, man. It's seriously a slippery slope, because if you have that opportunity, can your life change? Can you have the butterfly effect, happen where maybe it was supposed to happen? But I'll tell you, a lot of people, they would just put band-aids on it. And sometimes the best thing, yeah, the best analogy that I can give you is a doctor might, tell you, okay, well, it's a matter of life and death, for what if, and I'm going to say this right now, my grandfather, my grandfather got an opportunity to save his life, and he was diabetic, and they told him, they said, hey, we need to amputate your leg, and if we don't amputate your leg, you're gonna die. Fuck the leg is my answer to that, dude. But my grandpa chose to keep his leg, and we lost him. So, guys, I mean, I'm telling you this because you have to make a choice, and I'll tell you, it's the choice is going to bring upon change, and it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be what everyone, it's not going to be what you expect. But sometimes, I mean, what if, what if, my grandpa would have, chopped his leg off? I could have probably had him for another 15 years. So, um, but those are, decisions and choices that you can't change once you make them. So, I don't know. I personally, right now with everything that's happening with, the epidemic, and I always just tell people, I'm like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we have material items, but I don't really care. I don't, as long as, I'm with the family and I got the kids. That's, to me, that's what matters. And the hardest thing that I could always tell someone is experiencing something the first time. Learning how to, buy a home the first time is always the hardest. But after that, you're like, I can do this again,
that.
you
Right.
know? And that's the thing, guys. Life gives you chances and opportunities. But I don't know how that came up, but that's a true story.
So with that said, I mean, there's ways to, get through this, but let's recap the time frame so that people kind of have a better understanding. So
Sure.
after 60 days, so if you're late for your first month, you're actually considered late 60 days, correct?
No. You're going to go 2 months. So you're going to go 60 days, and then they're going to issue a notice of default.
Okay, so 60 days, because you're 60 days late, but if I'm a consumer mortgage holder and I don't write a check for that 1 month, in my mind, I'm thinking 30 daes, right? But in
It's
actuality,
it still is 30 days. So yeah, no, you're right. So technically, you owe for today, and in 60 days they're going to issue a notice of default from today.
okay.
So yeah, so keep that still at the 60-day mark. 2 mortgage payments. You missed 2 mortgage payments. A notice of default is what's going to get issued.
At that point, I mean,
And,
where am I should I start calling somebody at this point?
if I could give some recommendations, if you're going to go that 60-day mark, or you know that you got your job back and you're going to be able to start working again, my advice is, call your 401k. Call your 401k or your IRA, and then just take a draw for the past due payments. Take a draw for the past due payments, and just bring your loan current. So that you guys, now if you are at the 60-day mark, and you're going to the 90, and you don't have a job, and you don't know when, situation's going to change, you might want to start considering other options. How much equity do I have? If I were to sell my home, could I still have $200,000? Well, now you got $200,000, and you can now go ahead and live off a rent for 1 year. And now you just lost 24,000. So what if you rented? You still got 175. And at the same time that you're renting, what if the house values drop? And then in 1 year, you don't have a mortgage anymore. Your credit is good. The prices of property dropped, and you're still sitting on $150,000. You're sitting on 150. Your $450,000 home just dropped to 350, and you're sitting on 150, and you decided to go ahead and put 20% down on your new purchase. 20% on 350, you're at $70,000. That means you still have an extra 80,000 in the bank. And look at what better position you positioned yourself in, just because of what you thought was, the most horrible thing in your life.
So then I guess right now it's a matter of positioning yourself. If you get to that point, start thinking about, where am I at? Where do I need to be at? Because the longer that you wait, the worse it's going to be for you, the less options you're going to have. So you want to optimize your options, say from the 60 to the 90-day mark. You start calling somebody, start calling Jesse, call me, figure it out. We're here to help you. Anything else you want to
No, just don't wait. Just don't wait until it's too late. And then, honestly, speak to 3 people. Speak to 3 people before you decide on doing anything. And if 2 of the 3 people give you the same advice, then go with the one person that told you first. Because the person that told you first and was actually real and honest with you has your best, has the best intentions for you, to be able to, help you get through your scenario. So, yeah, that's the deal with this foreclosure, what to look out for.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, if you're feeling like you're going to be headed in this direction, you want more answers, write us, message us. Communicate with us in any way possible. We're here to help you. We're here to answer any of your questions that we can. So, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hey, thank you. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you on the next vid.
Thanks a lot, guys.